Hello, everyone. My name is Agatha, and I'm the Business Advisory Manager at Business Station. Thank you for attending our Julie McDonald webinar series. We at Business Station are proud to bring you this session as part of the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program funded by the Oz Industry. Now, I feel like there's no need of introduction here, but Julie McDonald is an Olympic and Commonwealth Games swimmer who has won medals for Australia at both. She's our true hero. Julie held the Commonwealth record for the 800-meter freestyle for 21 years and still holds one of the top 6 times an Australian has ever produced, some 33 years after setting her initial record. It's absolutely brilliant and such a privilege to have Julie. Now I'm gonna spotlight Julie here. Hey Julie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. Super excited to be part of this.
Absolutely. So this is going to be a series of 4. So the first one today is about resilience, and let's just start the show.
Sure. Well, it's great to be here, everybody. Super excited. And, when people read out my resume or my little bio, I always get a little bit nervous, super expectations or something. And the fact that it was 33 years ago, I just think, geez, I was good when I was 5 years old.
Exactly.
But let's get started. So, today, I'm going to talk to you about resilience. So what is resilience? Resilience is the ability to navigate through adversity, to effectively adapt to change, but thrive in that change. It means having to cultivate a sense of calm and clarity and stability, even when things are stressful and overwhelming. Staying calm and positive in times of trouble and uneasiness. We've just had 12 months of incredible uneasiness. It's dealing with disruptive forces while adapting to integrity on how you will respond to changing circumstances, eventually leading to the experience of thriving. Adaptive resilience is a skill that can be cultivated and developed in the face of chronic negative stress and increasing demands, even through complexity and change. And it's becoming your own leader. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my story to start off with. My first dream in life was to be a jockey. I grew up on Rochdale in 2.5 acres, and we had horses on our property. And I just loved them. And I always wanted to be a jockey. So my first experience of being resilient was the fact that when I was 10 years old, my dad said, "You're too big to be a jockey." And I was devastated. However, at that stage, I was swimming. And then that became another bit of resilience for myself because, we didn't grow up in a family that was super wealthy. Mum would buy me these nylon togs. That's me standing up with the top of the platform there. Love being recognized. And as you can see, the fashion back then, I had the nylon suits, which never stretched. And, even though Mum said I'll grow into them, those of you who ever wore nylon togs know that you'll never grow into nylon togs. So fashion was another adversity for me. That's me on the right in that first photo in the green bodysuit with the long white socks. I can hear you all laughing. But I went to Emerald as part of the Brisbane swimming team, and I was only about 10 years old then, and I had to race against Sue Landells, who was an incredible Queensland champion at the time and Australian champion, who then went on to win a silver medal for Australia in the 1984 Olympics. And I remember standing up on those blocks at the Emerald Pool. I was miles and miles away from home. And I just remember thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I've got to race Sue Landells. And, I didn't have my swim coach with me and I didn't have my mum standing there with me. So I just had to really draw on my inner strength and courage to get up there and race. So 1986 saw me, emerge into the international swimming stage. I competed at my first Commonwealth Games where I won a silver medal for Australia. And then I went on to the World Championships. And it was the first time that I came across the East Germans swimmers. And these ladies were bigger than our men in our swim team. You know, it was terrifying when we first saw them. It certainly made me, I think it put me off my race, you know, because I was just so in awe of how big these girls were, and, you know, how masculine looking that these girls were. And so when I came back from the World Championships, I said to my coach, Laurie Lawrence, and that's a picture of Laurie and I was 15 at the time, so about the same time as these World Championships. And you can just see the difference in the development of these East German girls in their arms compared to mine. So I came back from those World Champs. I said to Laurie, you know, to compete at the Olympics in 2 years' time, I'm going to need to do something different. And I'm going to have to, how can I be competitive with these girls whilst doing it drug-free and cleanly? I wasn't, you know, certainly wasn't going to put myself in the situation of following suit where that was concerned. And how do I use this to motivate myself? You know, most people, everybody has a choice every day you wake up. You have a choice of being positive or negative. You know, when I saw those girls, I think the initial shock of having to race them was certainly a bit daunting. But then as a 16-year-old, and then, you know, when I came back, I was like, you know, I just sort of went, you know what, I just need to move on and use this to my best ability and to motivate myself to want to beat them. And I had to draw within and say, how badly do I want it? You know, how badly do I want to win? So no matter if you're in business or you're an athlete, you know, it's all about focus. And my focus, you know, everybody has to focus on their attitude. As I said, every day you wake up, you have a choice. You can wake up and be positive, or you can wake up and think about all the things that are going wrong, or think about all the things going right. Now, Phil DeBella in the series talked about vision, right? It's how important it is to have vision. And I did a lot of visualization. It's something that I teach a lot of people, is how to visualize your success as if you've got it now, right? And to be in the present moment. A compounding effect. So, you know, a lot of you may have read the book by Jeff Olson, The Slight Edge. That's about daily choices that we make that can then accumulate to being a bigger success, right? And to help us achieve what we want to achieve. If you haven't read it, I guarantee that you should go read it, because there's lots of great messages in there. No one becomes an Olympian overnight. No one becomes a small business success overnight. It is years and years and years of training and years of hard work to make that success. But we all have one thing in common: passion and purpose, right? So we've got that in common, so that what is our passion? Why are you doing that, you know, small business? What is your purpose? If you're passionate about why you're in business, or you're passionate about your product, then, and it aligns with your purpose, then it's a lot easier to continue on and get the driven and the success that you want. You know, I sought out a stroke expert to get the best technique that would suit me, to make me more efficient, and so that I use less energy per stroke. So we want to focus on our light. You know, what's your light? What do you radiate? We all have our own strengths and weaknesses. And the biggest strength someone possesses is that they can ask for help, and they can ask for assistance in the areas that they're not super strong at. You know, I wasn't the most talented swimmer in the pool. Anyone that raced against me or trained with me would be able to tell you that. I was the one who dived in first and got out last at every swimming session. I was the one that would take my breakfast to the pool, and I would stay in for half an hour after everyone else got out to go to school. And I would do extra stretch cords and swim bench to make myself stronger to compete against those East German girls. I'd eat my breakfast, get dressed at the pool, eat my breakfast, and Mum would take me to school. And then when school was over, she would drive me back to the pool, and I would dive in and start swimming 800s before anyone else got there. So they're all the little things, the slight edge, the little differences that I did to, you know, be able to achieve my success. So I find mindfulness, you know, it's a buzzword at the moment, the last 12 months. But when we practice mindfulness, we become aware of our internal dialogue and our internal response to situations. A sense of curiosity and kindness about what we're going through allows us to cope better. Being present. It's great to have dreams and big vision of where you want to be in 5 years' time. But if you miss the little things that are important now, it may send you off track. Staying in the present moment allows you to focus on what needs to be done now to propel yourself into the future, but also allows you the space to be aware of what's going on in your business. High stress. How many people know people with high stress? When emotions are high, intelligence is low. So we need to know what are our stresses and what can we do to minimize those impact on us. When we shift from obsessing about a problem and assessing our response to the problem, then we can open ourselves up to the possibilities and solutions. We need to be adaptive, resilient, to be continuously question conventional thinking, actively looking for things differently. Action. Knowing yourself and your automated response to situations allows you to address where you can improve in that area. If you're reactive, it's slightly negative, but if you're proactive, it's a more positive approach. And we need to focus on what we focus on becomes bigger. You may have heard that before. If we're focusing on the negative, the problem can get bigger. But if we start focusing on the solution, sorry, we just got a thunderstorm and my dog doesn't like thunder, sorry. But if we focus on the solution or steps that we can put in to resolve that, and we look at it logically, then a solution will come to mind and we get able to stay balanced and calm. So how do you talk to yourself? That voice in your head that comes from our beliefs and our past situations can have a devastating effect on your outlook. By being aware of that voice, and some of you may be going, what voice? Well, it's that voice that just said that. Being aware of that voice and what it's saying to you can turn around a negative thought and an unproductive thought into a positive one. I will address more of this in our coming weeks though. So practicing resilience in the workplace. Building resilient skills doesn't happen instantly. It's important to understand and manage some of the factors that cause us to feel so overwhelmed and stressed at work. Meditation, if you've never meditated before, or find something that helps calm you. And do regular check-ins, not only with your staff members, but with yourself, because that's super important. So skills, the 7 skills of resilience, cultivate a belief in your ability to cope. It's tempting to want to throw your hands up and tap into emotions when things are not going to plan or we experience stressful situations. We can feel helpless, overwhelmed, and start to wonder, are we ever going to get out of it? As I said before, when our emotions are high, our intelligence is low. So we need to train ourselves to first take a breath, acknowledge how we feel before taking action or reacting or positively reacting. Remind yourself that you have what is needed to succeed and you'll get through this. Focus on things that are not dependent on others or outside circumstances. Qualities like adaptability, intelligence, humor, courage, perseverance, resourcefulness, assertiveness, gratitude, etc. All these qualities will help you deal with the situation in a positive and proactive way rather than a reactive way. So number 2, stay focused with the sources of support. So this is one of my favorite photos because it was a time in my swimming career where our teammates won the national championships. And I feel it's super important in small business when you're running your own business is to maintain your friendships outside of work. This is not a time to become a recluse. It is time to stay connected. We are all social beings, whether you're an introvert or extrovert, and we all need to feel part of a team or tribe as they make us feel safe and supported. Surround yourself with people who lift you, who are either on the same entrepreneurial path or have been there and done that before. Having those people who know when to send you a funny joke or when to send you something inspirational. This is an important part of human nature. Cultivating a shared team identity will unite rather than divide. If you don't have a support network yet, spend time to investigate networking opportunities within your field or your industry. If you can't be there in person, you can always Zoom in. Remember, last year we all got onto Zoom, team meetings, Skype, FaceTime. And it allows you to see the person because remember, communication is 95% non-verbal. So the most important skill that we can probably develop is listening. Listening is an ability to be able to communicate, and listening to somebody allows us to be able to see what people are experiencing and allowing them to start to trust us. We all know someone who's bottled up issues and struggles in the past, only to have their business fall apart, or worse, they've lost their life, or because they didn't feel they could share their struggles. Mental health affects 1 in 5 people. The stigma that used to be attached to mental health has disappeared. Only the story that we tell ourselves. So developing some strong relationships with people that will listen to you and be there for you is key to feeling empowered and able to deal with anything that arises. And this also comes with dealing with a business problem. Remember that most people who are in business go through exactly the same struggles and adversities. So by finding mentors or relationships with others that can help you feel less stressed and overwhelmed is super important. Developing the skill of listening will also allow you to be the mentor to someone else and pay it forward. As simply as saying, what I've been thinking the most about has been, then you follow through, will help you tune into the mind and body and help you describe how you're feeling. Sometimes we get so caught up in our own thoughts and feelings and problems that we forget what others are going through. And if you're in a workplace environment, one person not coping can throw out the whole office out of whack. So be aware of others, of their workloads, and offer support and guidance. It may just be the fact that you are offering another solution or some time management skills. It's easy to focus on what's going wrong in the world or our world, everything. We've had so much adversity last year, but what we have to change is the way we think about that. I'm a big believer, as I mentioned before, that what we focus on gets bigger. So last year, when everything, the world tipped upside down, I really tuned in and focused on what I can control myself. I can control my thoughts. I can control my practices in my business. Part of my business totally stopped. All my speaking stopped. So I had to diverse and focus on my other business. So not many people had that opportunity. So, but totally believe that, the more that we focus on our successes and our ability to be able to adapt, then the better we will be. If you've seen the movie Unbroken, then you will recall the story of Louis Zampanini. He was an Olympian in 1936 and then commissioned to the US Army Air Forces as a lieutenant. His plane experienced difficulties and he spent 47 days with 2 other crewmates floating out at sea. He was captured by the Japanese and sent to 2 different prisoner of war camps. He was beaten, tortured, and refused as he refused to cooperate with the Japanese. His story of struggle and survivorship inspires me any day, that I have what it takes when the odds are against me. When I look at movies like this, or especially true stories, I think about how would I respond? How would I have coped with that situation? And I always find that's a real leveler because, we always think that our first initial response was, oh yeah, I'd be able to do that. Or maybe, oh no, I don't think I could do it. But if you draw within, you would find that you would be able to have that resilience to be able to do it. So one of the biggest things for me was seek meaning. And so for me, it's a lot about charity work that I do, volunteering. So for you, it's about finding out, that healthy balance of being able to not only focusing on your business, which can be, create a totally overwhelming situation, but also to how can you help others? How can you be of service? Because when we're of service to people, that is when we shine the brightest. That's when we can be the best humans that we can be. Now, today we have some amazing advisors. Now, when we started, we had 3 of our advisors on board. I'm not sure whether any of us others have joined with us, but these are the people that you can really turn to and get their expertise. These guys are a lot more skilled in these areas than I am. I can give you my personal advice of what I've been through and how I've adapted with different situations, but these guys are specialists and experts. And the first we have is Nicole Manhattan. She's considered Australia's most thought leader in visibility and sustainability strategies for female entrepreneurs and small business owners. Nicole's a business coach and wellbeing consultant, and she's also created digital marketing platforms, including podcasts, TVs, and magazines. We have Tanya Begg, also with over 20 years experience. Tanya's focus is on business growth through organizational strategy, development, encompassing leadership capability and team development. Dante St. James. Dante's strengths lie in the digital space with background in digital and traditional media since 1996. He's an accredited Facebook community trainer and holds over 82 individual technology certifications. A specialist, obviously, in digital marketing, social media, CRM systems, and SEOs. So this is a way for you guys to be able to tap into these resources and get the knowledge and experience from these people that have been there before. They've all done what you've done before, and they've all had the same adversities. So I really encourage you to tap into this amazing resource that ASBAS have put together and draw out from it something that you can utilize for your own business.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Julie. Thank you so much. And I invite all the advisors to turn on your video and unmute yourself. What an amazing story. And thanks for sharing, your experience. And then, you are a true, I guess, hero of resilience here. Can't wait for, the next 3 weeks and unfold, quite a bit more of your stories. So, and thanks for introduction to all the advisors. What I'll do is just quickly, guys, go around the room. If you want to also share with everyone what you're offering in terms of small business help, of course, specifically in the resilience and also additional other things that you are offering. We'll start with you, Nicole.
Oh, thank you. First cab off the rank. So firstly, thanks for having me. And Julie, it's so exciting to meet you, even if it's virtually. Love to reach in there and give you a hug. So what I specialise in is resilience and wellbeing strategies for female founders and business owners. We do have some unique challenges as women running small businesses or being employed in a small business, and we're often juggling multiple roles, and it's a very complex environment. So we help them manage stress. We also, when I talk about what I'm doing through the ASBAS, it's also about looking at where they are now, where they want to go, and what is the most straightforward roadmap to get there. Looking at the gaps in the business, as well as looking at how they can stay in the game long enough to reap the rewards of their hard work. So very much looking at where there might be a possibility for burnout, and making sure that they have the right mindset, as well as the right support networks, and the right business training to make sure that they can be successful and enjoy life, because that's really what it's all about.
I love it. Absolutely. Enjoy life. I think that's the most important thing in life, is to enjoy it. We'll go with Dante next. Dante, I know you're all a social media guru, but I also know, I guess personally, you are such an ambassador of resilience for small business. Share with us a little bit what you're offering and what we can, small business can get help from you.
Yeah, look, my spiel would say one thing, but personally, I want to say other things. Or I love my spiel. My spiel is I transform hesitant small business owners who can be a little bit overwhelmed by all this techie marketing stuff into capable, confident marketers. That's well and good. That's about me. But what I'm all really about is, I guess, this year I've set about to work with a lot more women, a lot more Indigenous communities, a lot more regional communities, because I've had an absolutely privileged run. I've been able to work with Facebook, with Google, with amazing government programs. And I look at that and go, wow, what a golden run I've had. But that's great for me. But what I want to do is be able to help businesses like yours to get known, get found, and stay known as well. So what my resilience background would be that my first business failed spectacularly. I lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on that. My second business, I got out before it did that. My third business didn't do wonderfully. My fourth business did spectacularly well. And my fifth and sixth and seventh businesses that I'm still working in now are really going well. So that goes to show you that sometimes it doesn't work out the first time. I'd rather you avoided losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the other thing is too that we have life things that go on. And me personally, I'm a 4-time survivor of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I've suffered both sexual and relational violence at the hand of partners who I guess were poorly chosen on my part. So that kind of resilience that's been really talked about today. And Julie, amazing that you've been able to tell us through some of the challenges you've been up against at such a high level of sport. It tells us that we're all not unique, that we all actually go through challenges of our own, both in life and in business, and they affect the other areas. You can't separate the challenges of life from the challenges of business. Life is business. Business is life when you're a business owner. And if you are able to address those issues in life, you're able to address those issues in business as well. So I encourage you to connect with these amazing women who are on screen right here, or myself if you choose to as well, and step forward and be the best possible, not only business owner, you can be the best possible human being you can be as well.
Absolutely love it. Thank you, Dante. And you know what? Those hundred thousands of dollars that you lost is probably invaluable experience that you can share with small businesses. And it's probably gained back by those small businesses not doing the same mistake what you've done. So thank you for giving back essentially. And Tanya, last but not least, because I know you have psychology background as well. So this is quite an interesting background to bring forward into resilience for as a human being as well as small business owners. So take it away.
Okay, so I will just say I've studied psychology. I'm not a psychologist, and I work with a neuroscience framework that does encompass psychology and other philosophical perspectives. But the work that I'm doing with ASBAS, yes, is very much around strategy and that focus. Like some of the slides that Julie went through, I was nodding my head. It's that focus on purpose. That focus on the business goals that we have, and also those personal goals that we have, because really our businesses are the vehicle to help us achieve those personal goals. And sometimes I think a lot of the time small business owners forget that. They're too much in it and forget about that. And obviously sort of that focus on that vision. Where do we want to be? And what are the things that we need to do to get there? And obviously that's the strategy. And obviously there are going to be times when we're disappointed. And so there is other work that I do around self-awareness that helps us understand, that process that we will go through when our resilience will be tested. But also I think too, like Dante just mentioned as well, it is our own experience as well. I mean, my business, I've had for 9 years. It hasn't always been perfect and, just skyrocketing like that. And even only recently I had, something that I was visualizing and I thought this is going to happen, but it didn't. But there's a reason for that. So that's that support mechanism to give people as they go through this and know that, just because that didn't happen doesn't mean something else wonderful isn't going to happen in my business.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much. And all right, so I'm opening it, of course, to every attendees to drop in the questions in our Q&A. You can find it in the bottom of the Zoom. Now we'll start with the first question here, Julie, and this is for you. And this question is obviously from a fan, and I do want to know. The question is, when you realize that the East Germans had an advantage, why didn't you just give up? What did you do to pick yourself up and just take them on?
Well, I think it's super interesting, isn't it? It's I think I get that from the drive from my grandmother and my mother. Both very strong, independent women. My grandmother had a great presence in the community in Mount Gravatt, and I think I don't know. I think I had people that believed in me. I really had that support there. And for me, I think I was so driven. We grew up talking about the Olympics. We talked about, Laurie would always, talk about what it's like to go to an Olympic Games. And he really pitched that vision to us, and we all embraced it, and I remember him coming back from the 84 Olympics, and John Sieben had his gold medal. And that was the moment that when he won that gold medal, that was the moment I said, Mum, I'm going to the next Olympics. And she looked at me and she said, sweetheart, if you train hard enough, you'll get there, right? And so that's what I did, and then when Laurie said, who here wants to go to the next Olympics? Well, of course, all 20 of us that were training with him put our hands up. And he said, not all of you are going to make it. Only those who are dedicated enough, who are committed enough. And we truly believed in our hearts, every single one of us, he was talking to us, and unfortunately, as with always, for every one person that makes it, not everyone does. There's thousands that train just as hard, that put in just as many hours, but they don't get there. So, for me, it was kind of no option. at that time, I had that attitude of someone told me I couldn't do it. I was like, I'm going to show you, and it's interesting because that mentality changed as I got older. And I'm a big teacher now to young athletes that, and to coaches, it's just, you've got to understand your athlete to be able to get the most out of them. In our days, it was train hard, train harder, train harder. If Laurie said you can't do it, we would do the opposite. I'm going to show you. When I got into my early 20s, I don't know what changed, but if someone said to me, you can't do it, I started having self-doubt. And I thought, oh, maybe I can't do it. So it was, and it's interesting, that I then had to change the strategies, and I had to, tell anyone that was, like Laurie coaching me, hey, Laurie, you need to tell me that I can do it. Don't tell me I can't do it, because my mental state's different these days, So it's just being able to then communicate with that to somebody, right?
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Julie. And that is, such a good sharing. Absolutely. Maybe this exact question, but probably I want each advisor has got their own personal experience through their business, or even, helping a client. Dante, I know you mentioned it. Could you start with you? What was it that, I guess, you see the failure in your first business or whatever, but then what sort of resilience and going out there and actually try again and have a second one, a third one, and all these businesses that you started, and it's absolutely fantastic story. Can you share a little bit on that?
I think there comes a point where something becomes so embarrassing but so public that you can't hide it. You either have to crawl into a ball and cry, which I did a number of times, or you just have to go, this happened. There's nothing I can do about the press around it. I just have to power through it. And one of probably the most, and this is a sports thing that's going to come out, Julie. I'm talking about in 1988, the Pacific School Games. I was a runner back then. And so I got to that level of the Pacific School Games, like really low. It was going to be the next big thing of athletics. And I did really well in the Pacific School Games, won 3 gold medals, got a silver medal, did amazing, and then went to what was called the All Schools Championship after that. So I rocked up to the premier event that I was so good at, which was at the time the 90-meter hurdles, because we were juniors back then. And in the 90-meter hurdles, I was like the Pacific School Games champion. I was the state champion, the national champion. Now I was doing this all schools game. I fell over the last hurdle. And embarrassingly, in front of about 3,000 people, including all my peers, all my competitors, I fell over, face planted myself on the turf at the Bruce Stadium in Canberra, outside the Institute of Sport.
Oh,
and
God.
It was so embarrassing and so ridiculous that I actually never ran again. And I actually quit running after that, and I never did it again because it was just so humiliating. When I failed in business, and it was a very public thing to at least the people who I knew and loved, and very public to those people who had an involvement in my business, I fell over and I face planted in a different way. And all I could see was the mistake I made in 1988 when I didn't get back up, and then didn't get back up and finish that race and take some dignity with me. And I wasn't going to do that again. I was going to try again and do it again. And if that meant people thinking I was a failure, if that thought people, that drove me. And what it was is like, you think I'm a failure? I'm going to show you. You think that I can't run a business? I'm going to show you. You think I can't be a success? Just wait. And it became that memory of that failure where I didn't get back up drove me to never, ever be that person again.
Oh, goodness. Thanks for sharing that story. I get goosebumps just listening to it. Fantastic.
Dante, you need to be like an inspirational speaker. Your story is amazing.
He already is, Julie. So thanks. Yes. Oh, goodness. Apparently, Google is going to be changed to Dante soon. That's right. Anyways, let's go with Nicole. Nicole, do you want to share something that potentially, the drive to, literally just march on and just do it?
It's a pretty hard act to follow. Thanks for that, Dante. We'll have a chat with you later. So my story is a little bit different, obviously. I was invited to do a TED talk, a TEDx talk. And generally when you get selected to do a TEDx talk, they give you 2 weeks of training beforehand. So you get 2 weeks of training on a particular topic you're going to talk about, how to stand on the stage, about how the whole thing works. And I got none of that for a bunch of different reasons. I was living in the Middle East at the time. I was holidaying in Thailand. They contacted me and said, we want you. I had booked another trip to South Africa, but I thought, you know what? I can do this. So on the back of a motorbike going across South Africa, I was like, what am I going to talk about in my TED talk? And no one's given me any guidance. I had nothing. I thought, all right, well, I'll talk about the 5 to thrive and the 9 to 5, because it's all about my burnout story from corporate and then transferring into small business. And I thought, okay, I've got this. So I set up all these structures around me on the day to help me stay sane. Otherwise, it's pretty daunting walking into an auditorium full of people. No one had prepped me. And I'd said to a girlfriend, look, generally when I'm going to an event, I'm not great at directions. So I tell you what, can you go ahead of me? If I get lost, can you, talk me into the car park, and can you be in the audience for me as my wingman? So I've got someone to look at and I feel safe, etc. She was like, yep, I can do that. I'd organised for my husband to be there 45 minutes before. Cut a long story short, my friend who was supposed to go in advance to the venue, she had a car accident on the way. So she calls me and says, I'm on my way to I'm fine, but I'm on my way to the police station. And I'm like, what? I get completely lost in the desert on my way to the venue. The organisers had to come out in a car and rescue me because I was completely out of my sorts. My husband was late, made it 2 minutes before they shut the doors in the auditorium, and was in such a foul mood that he wouldn't even sit near me. I'm sitting next to the other speakers going, I don't know who I am right now. I was so late. I didn't have time to put my makeup on. I'd gone into the bathroom and whacked on a bit of mascara. Then I get up onto the stage and I'm literally deer in headlights. I don't know my name. I can't remember what I was going to talk about. And everything after that kind of went wrong. They said, you need to, I'm in the green room, go stand on that red circle out there. And I'm like, okay. I'd planned 20 minutes. They said, you've got 10. I'm like, great. I literally wrote the 5 points of my TEDx talk on my hand, stepped out there, and then looked down and realized that the audience could practically see up my dress because of the angle of where they were sitting. I hadn't figured out my outfit for the thing. And I thought, I'm going to die. I can't even breathe. And I thought, I'm just going to do it. And whatever happens on the other side, I will be fine. I will learn from it. Maybe one day I'll laugh at it. And for 2 weeks after I did my TED talk, I could not remember anything that I said until they'd finished the production and actually sent it to me, and then kind of held on to a couple of friends and said, all right, we've got to watch this. So best laid plans. I had my support network completely fall apart around me. I lost conscious thought, and I thought, I'm just going to do it. Really? Because one day it might be a great story that I can share with people after, Dante shared a story, and it might be useful for others to hear it. Now, I am so proud of the fact that I had planned and prepared as much as I could, but on the day, everything just kind of fell apart, and I thought I'll just give it a go anyway. And in business, it's the same. You don't really know how things are going to turn out, but you plan as best you can. You pull your support network around you, and it's never that one event that makes or breaks it in your business. And to know that there will always be another time for you to get up and speak. There will always be another product, service, customer that you can approach. You can COVID happened. If you adapt and develop a growth mindset, whatever happens to you, maybe in the moment you don't see the learning, but because you've developed the growth mindset, afterwards you can quickly go, what did I learn? How can I grow? How can we adapt? Where's the opportunity? And how can we make ourselves stronger as a result of this experience?
Wow, you better share with me the recording. I want to see that.
Will do.
Thanks, Nicole. That's fantastic. And I'm so glad. I mean, yes, sometimes you just got to do it, isn't it? And Tanya, of course, last but definitely not least, could you share with us, your experience?
Well, while I've been listening to everyone else, it's sort of like, gee, which story will I choose? Because there have been numerous times in business where it's, you're putting yourself out there. And in some respects, I think I held myself back in case I failed. And, and people would see, well, she's not really as good as she says she is. So, there's probably numerous times when that has or could have happened, and, and having that fear of speaking. But if I go right back to the beginning of my this career, when I was first learning and I was working at a coal terminal, I had actually come out of admin and I was going to, work in business improvement. And so, I knew the business and I knew the people, but I had to do this research on how we were recording our delays and what that meant. And, this is across 5 different crews, right? And then it was to come back to the leaders of these crews. So, it was like, how many people? 10 people that I had to present in front of. So not a large number, but at that time in my career, I wasn't doing, I wasn't presenting or facilitating, doing any of that sort of stuff. And so I've stood in front of them and told them how 3 of them were doing wonderfully and they're all doing this. And you 2 over here, you 2 groups over here are doing something totally different. And the way I delivered it in the, my manager, the boss I had at the time, he was actually a mentor of mine and led to where I am now. In his terms, he said I crashed and burned. So, these were people that I had to, influence in some respects to get them to work together instead of working separately. And the disappointment, and, there's always that, like Dante talked about, there's that, there's an element of shame of, I failed at this, my first go. And also, though, there is that learning from it. If I hadn't done that, if I hadn't experienced that, I would have, possibly gone on and kept doing it. But by the same token, my boss said to me, I've never seen someone, recover so quickly. The learnings that I took from that and changed what I did. And I suppose I've been doing that all along through business, because my own business, because I've had times where I felt like, there was a speaking gig that I should have got, but it went to someone else for whatever reason. And those times have been, they've actually hit me quite hard sometimes. And I've really taken it to heart. You're not accepted, you're not part of this. But really, they're the things that make you stronger and pick you up. Because it wasn't that long ago, I actually had someone say to me, any large business would love to have you working in their business as an employee, doing this business improvement stuff. And I was just like, in my head, I'm thinking, but that's not what I want to do. I want to be doing this. This is my purpose and this is what I'm here for. So it's that focus on, really what you want to do and that picking yourself up each time that you get knocked down.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tanya. And that's exactly what's happening, of course, during COVID. And one of the question that we took offline before this session was the fact that a lot of small businesses, unfortunately, due to what happened last year, couldn't make it. We have made phone calls to a lot of these small businesses to, I guess, check in. And it's a matter of those, kind of fight, flight, or freeze type of response. Now, what I want to ask you guys potentially for as relevant to small businesses, they themselves probably quite resilient. How can you actually influence your staff members in terms of those change management? How is it that inspiring your teammates or your, Julie, probably, you swim with other swimmers and inspiring them that they could also be resilient as you are? Probably start with you, Julie.
Well, it's interesting because, yeah, we had a big group of people that we're training with, and some of those people were actually my competitors. So we looked at the fact that the better I get, the better they get. The better they get, the better I get. So, when one of the strategies I had when I came back from the World Championships after racing the East Germans, my strategy was that I was going to train with the boys. And that if I could beat the boys in training, then it was going to be harder for those girls to beat me in a race. So that was sort of, for all of us, we all had that common goal and that common vision of walking into the Olympic Stadium. So, that's where we would help encourage people. And, you have your bad days, I think, Dante, everybody's had a situation where they've fallen over, or they've, like I did it at a little bit bigger stage at the Olympics in Barcelona. I, went in ranked number 1 in the world. I didn't know it at the time, but I had septicemia, and I couldn't even make finals. So, I had all this expectation of, winning a gold medal and didn't even make finals. And so you can imagine when I came back from that, I just fell in a hole, and I was fortunate that my partner at the time just whisked me off to Brazil for a holiday, and we totally forgot about swimming for a while. But, we all have adversity, we all have struggles, and it's definitely how we look at that. But, when we can work as a team, we all get better, and I think that was the whole strategy that Laurie had, was that everyone lift each other.
Sorry, yes. Oh, wow. No, that's probably the hardest thing, is to actually inspire your competitor. I don't know whether, that's amazing, Julie. No, absolutely. Because I know we talk about it, Dante. We'll go with you because, during Phil's webinar yesterday about your competitors, and actually, if they're so focused on you, let's steal their customers. Now, inspiring a competitor and to actually grow together, that's absolutely fantastic. And I love it. Dante, what do you think? How do you inspire others, and especially your teammates, in terms of being resilient?
I actually work really close with my competitors, particularly my local ones, because I look at that in the same way that Julie was looking at her training partners and her training mates, is that by them getting better, you get better, because you're competing constantly with each other, even if you're a team. So I do foster a healthy level of competition, not only within the team, not like, oh, you do this better and the others are no good. It's more of a case of, look, just play with it. Just make it a game. Make this a playful experience. And I do the same with my competitors, in that I'll just suddenly throw something out there that I know they'll react to, and then watch what they do as well, but regularly actually meet with them, regularly actually catch up with them, because it's something I was taught, quite a long time ago. I think it was when I was working in telecommunications, is that there's two very different ways of marketing your presence in a market. One of those is to market yourself, and the other one is to market what you do. And the marketing what you do grows the entire pie. So instead of trying to sort of grasp at a limited market of everybody just taking and losing to their competitors, and you take one or I take two, instead what you do, you grow the entire market so that everybody's slice gets bigger, and you're not having to worry about having to steal and beg and borrow and lie and cheat to get and scratch each other's eyes out to get a new client, because you're just making the market bigger. Everyone gets more clients. And when everyone gets more clients, we're more busy, more happy, the economy lifts, people's lives are getting better. And it helps, because I can't do everything. I can't serve every client. I don't want to serve every client. There's some clients I definitely don't want to serve. So if I've got really friendly competitors who I can go, look, these guys are so much better at this particular thing than what I am, I'd really wholeheartedly let me make the introduction for you. People get blown away. They're like, you're going to introduce me to a competitor? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I know them. We have coffee every month. And they think, wow, this is an amazing thing that you guys actually really rate each other. And we do, because we've taken the time to do that. So healthy competition is great, but so is healthy collaboration.
I love it. Well, you got your frenemies. Yes, they're absolutely brilliant. I think Tanya just dropped, must be the internet connection over. Tanya is based in Mackay. Hopefully she'll come back. Nicole, how about you? Share with us a little bit about exactly that, kind of, I guess, supporting your not just teammates, but potential competitors, because I do think healthy competition is very good.
Oh, healthy competition is essential. Just like Julie was saying, it makes you stronger. And it raises everyone's game. And you know what? There's enough for everybody. So if you have an abundance mindset, there isn't really any lack, and you should be focusing on you getting better, not about what others are doing. You can have a look at them and go, what's their technique? What's their product? What's their service? What's their price point? Whatever. But it really is about you being the best you can be and running your own race. When it comes to, for example, I created the Hot and Healthy Academy, and it's got over 14 faculty in it, because I recognize that to reach the 1 million women that I wanted to reach by 2030, I couldn't do it all, like similar to what Dante's saying. There's so many people to serve out there, you can't possibly do it all. So the business model I created was to bring together all these individual business owners who are experts in their own field, and there is some overlap, and turn them into faculty, and then create all this course content, and then promote it out to the community of women in small business. Now, by rights, potentially, there's so much overlap between all the faculty in their own individual standalone businesses that they could just see each other as competitors. But what they've recognized is, by coming together as a collective and going, well, focus on the best part, your greatest strength in your business and in your skill set, and we'll all do the same. We'll come together under one platform, and then we'll be able to serve at a much greater level and be part of something much bigger than we could possibly do ourselves. Now, myself as a leader, I guess, in terms of influencing that community of faculty members, and also our online community of 3,500 women, is to go, well, how can I be of service to you, and who can I connect you with? Because I thrive on celebrating other people's success. And I know that I want to be part of a world where that is the norm, and that people will recognize that and want to send people my way, because we've all got more than enough, and there's more than, and if we're all focusing on what we're fabulous at, then you won't feel that anyone is truly a competitor. And I always bring it back to, well, what are you in the game for? What do you want to get out of it? And similar to what Tanya was saying before, business owners can lose sight of the fact that the business is there to serve their life, not for them to become a slave to the business. And to make sure that, my team members and the people that I collaborate with are getting some perspective, so that they don't burn out, and that they are truly getting the experience they want through their business, in service of the life that they've chosen to live.
I love it. Thank you so much. Wow, it's and you know what? I love your mission, Nicole. I wholeheartedly support that. 1 million by 2030. Yay! All right, so Tanya, please share. What do you think about getting that change concept to people around you, and I guess inspiring them to do that.
I think at a really basic level, it's about bringing your team in as part of the process, and it's that conversation, and which isn't always done very well in businesses, but it's having that conversation around, well, this is our true reality, this is where we are, but this is where we want to be, and this is what we need to do to get there. And to get there, we need you to play your role. this is how we're going to do it. This is how we'll behave with each other. But it's also that ability for your team members to bring forward their thoughts and ideas, and having that constructive conflict and debate around things, and to get them really engaged in where you're going and what you want to do. And like similarly to what was mentioned before, I've got to apologise, I did drop out before because we're having lots of issues with internet here. Having the common goals, but also having those individual goals that contribute to the common team and business goals is also important. So that, yes, we are being competitive, but we're on that same journey towards the same vision. But it's also about utilising the strengths of people too. Too often we don't do that. And it's not just around skill set, it's around what they contribute to a team, their mindset, how they question what is going on in the business. They're looking at it differently to everybody else. So utilise those things to keep them engaged in, this is their business too. I was fortunate to actually be an employee in a business where we felt like it was ours. When we made decisions, it was like, well, if this was our business, our money, would we do that? So there is, a bit of effort that goes into making this happen, but it is well worth it when you do it.
I absolutely love it. Thank you. Absolutely. I think communication is key. You're absolutely spot on. All right. I do have one more question. And then what we'll do is, of course, we want to wrap up and giving a takeaway from this session. The question is essentially first for Julie. Now, how did your experience of training, I know it's probably very intense training as an athlete, prepare you for the routines of working as a business owner that you are, a business person that you are now?
So I think, I think we all go through similar struggles as we've talked about today. It was interesting. I had a varied corporate career, had lots of different careers in working for other people. I got made redundant 3 times, and then I thought, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to work for someone else. I want to work for myself. And I think then that was a whole, it was easy to wake up and go to work when I was working with somebody else. When you are your own business, it takes a lot more commitment because, you have to be dedicated. You have to get up and for those of us working from home, you got to get up, get dressed and be in that mindset of what you have to do for the day, prepare the night before, what you're going to, who do you need to talk to today? What appointments have you got? How can you prepare? So it's just, I think being organised has been my biggest takeaway in the last couple of years, is to get organised, and so that then I've got a clear mind, and they always say, you need a clear office, you got a clear mind, clear space, and I think that's really helped me. I have been in the past guilty of not being so clear in the office. And then, but knowing where everything is, but it's, I guess the last 12 months has really taught me, it's like, okay, let's get serious and focus. And so it's been interesting to relate everything I did back then, the extra effort, looking after my customers, making sure they're the number one person in the world. It's not about me anymore. It's about them. And, I think then everything that makes them feel more important, and then that makes your business grow a lot more as well.
Thank you so much. That's fantastic, Julie. All right. So thank you guys for all your questions. And then any more questions that cannot be answered, there are a couple, but we will be answering them next week. So we'll come back next week, and we're actually going to be talking more about different things next week, all about well-being and resilience. So Business Station, through the ASBAS Digital Solutions, are delivering series of these celebrity webinars. Today is Julie McDonald, and is also we're running a lot of online and face-to-face workshops locally in your area as well. The online workshop or the face-to-face workshop are going to be intimate small group. This is a meeting where participation and interactiveness is key. And also, if you want to book a time, 1 hour with any of our lovely advisors here today, Nicole, Tanya, or Dante, thank you for joining with us. You can book through the ASBAS Advisory Services at a very low cost, thanks to the Commonwealth funded program ASBAS. All right. Lastly, Julie, what is the takeaway of today's webinar?
My takeaway is that no matter what business you're in, no matter who you are, we all have similar experiences and we all have to overcome those challenges in the best possible way.
Oh, I love it. All right, Nicole, do you want to say just a couple of sentences on that to add on?
Apart from the fact that Dante's awesome.
Yes.
I'm actually going to use the 7 skills of resilience and share them with my collective team.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And Tanya?
I just think 3 words possibly, adaptive, flexible, and innovative.
Perfect. Great. And Dante?
Connect with the people around you, the women around you, they're your strength. The men around you, they're your strength. Learn from the people around you and learn from as many sources as you possibly can. There's no single right way to live or to run business. Expose yourself to all the different methods and choose the one that works for you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Nicole, Danya, and Dante. I'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.